What's going on, you guys? My name is Hartley, and in this video we are going to talk about your credit score, what it is, how it's calculated, and how you can improve it over time. I'm going to give you everything you need to know. Here we go. All right, let's get into it. So what is your credit score? Your credit score is a number that represents your ability to pay off your debts. Now, it's usually a number between 300 and 850. 850 being extremely good and 300 being extremely bad. Now, this number is calculated by two organizations called credit bureaus. And these credit bureaus get their information from people that give you money. So some examples of this are mortgages, credit cards, lines of credit, car loan, student loan, or your cell phone. So any of those people or any of those services that you have, they basically report your payments that you make to them. They report back to the credit bureaus with whether or not you paid on time and how much you paid. Okay, now let's talk about why credit is important. Well, one great example that will save you a lot of money over time is that good credit will get you a better rate on your mortgage. So when you're buying a $500,000 asset at 3% interest, if you can get it at 2.5% interest over 30 years, you are going to save a lot of money, and that comes down to your credit score and your ability to repay debt when you go and sign up for that mortgage. Secondly, it can help you get a business loan. If you want to go open a business, you want to borrow some money from a bank to get started, it's a lot easier to do that when you have good credit. You can also access better credit cards and lower interest rates when you have credit, and it's easier to finance or lease a new vehicle or buy a large asset. You will also pass all of your credit checks. So when you go out to rent a home, rent an apartment, whatever it is, and somebody runs a credit check on you, it will come back with flying colors and give more confidence into allowing you to rent that place out. Now, there's a lot of other reasons as well, but these are kind of the five that most people are concerned about. So let's start talking about how it is calculated. Now, there are 5 different factors that go into how your credit score is actually calculated. Some of them are more important than others, and there's 2 that are the most important. So the 2 that are most important are your payment history and your level of utilization. So when I say payment history, it literally means how long you've been paying off that credit card on time. Did you pay it off on time, and did you hit the minimum payment on it? All it is a 1 or a 0. It doesn't matter if you blew it out of the park or if you missed it by 1 penny. You either paid it off on time or you didn't pay it off on time, and that is referred to as your payment history. Did you make your payments? Yes or no. It comes up as an X or a 0 on your credit report, and that is what they are looking at when we see payment history. The second thing we are looking at is level of utilization. So when we say utilization, it means that if you have a $10,000 credit card, how far into that credit card are you going on a monthly basis? And what the credit bureaus like to see is utilization under 30%. So if you have a $10,000 credit card, the best way to improve your credit and the best way to keep a good credit score is to only use $3,000 of that on any given month. If you use more than that, your utilization goes higher and it affects your score negatively. Now, it is not a drastic effect, but it is a negative effect compared to keeping your score under 30%. Now, the other 3 factors that go into your credit score are the age of your credit. So if you have a credit card that you've been paying off for 1 year compared to a credit card that you've been paying off for 5 years, that 5-year credit card is going to have a much more positive impact on your credit score than the 1-year credit card. And so one of the tips that I'm going to give you here in a couple of minutes is don't cancel those old credit cards. Continue to pay them off, leave them at a 0 balance, but keep them there and do not get rid of them because it will extend the age of your credit. Now, the next one here is the diversity of your credit. So there's a couple different forms of credit. There's a line of credit, there's a loan, there's a credit card, there's various different forms of credit. And if you are able to show that you can pay off several different forms of credit at the exact same time or over time, even just consecutively, it gives a much better impact to your credit score than only being able to pay off credit cards, for instance. So therefore, the diversity of the credit that you actually have, whether it's between a car loan, a student loan, a mortgage, a credit card, a line of credit, no matter what it is, a little bit of diversity is a good thing when it comes to your credit score. Now, the last thing here is the number of inquiries, and that refers to how many times people have actually gone in and pulled your credit report. Now, we're going to dive into that a little bit deeper here, but what I want to summarize here is that those last 3 factors only make up about 35% of your credit score, whereas your payment history and your level of utilization make up that other 60-65% of your credit score, and therefore that is where you should focus the majority of your time, is paying off your debt on time and making sure that your utilization is below 30% here. Okay, so the next thing that we need to talk about is the credit bureaus, because they're a significant piece of the puzzle here. So in Canada and the United States, there's 2 credit bureaus. The number 1 is TransUnion and number 2 is Equifax. Now, there's a couple of things that you need to know about them. One is they keep your credit score, but 2 is Each credit bureau, so TransUnion and Equifax, may have a different score for you. The reason that that happens is because if you go out and you take out a bank loan with, let's say, RBC, you're here in Canada, and you pay back that bank loan, but RBC only reports your positive payments to TransUnion, then if somebody goes out and pulls your credit score from Equifax, it could be different than what it is at TransUnion. And so for that reason, you need to check your score at both of them, because some people will only report to one and some people will only pull for one. However, if you notice a discrepancy and you call them up, you can get them on the same page and you can settle that fairly easily. Now, the best ways to check your credit score, from what I've personally found, is through creditkarma.com and borrowwell.com. Credit Karma will pull from TransUnion and Borrowwell will pull from Equifax, so that you know if you pull from both of these websites, they will be accurate and they will be up to date. However, you can visit both TransUnion and Equifax directly, but it is not as user-friendly. There's a couple more steps and it's not quite as easy to get the information as quickly. So you have both options there. I personally use Credit Karma and Borrowwell. You create an account on there and it's super user-friendly, super easy to use, and that's how I personally do it. Now, this question comes up a lot. Does checking your score hurt your score? So for instance, if I go in every single month and I check my score on Credit Karma, is that gonna have a negative impact on my credit score? The answer is no. The reason the answer is no is because there's two types of checks. There's what we call a hard pull and what we call a soft pull. A soft pull is basically just going in and saying, hey, what's this guy's credit and what's his payment history like? A hard pull basically goes in and prints an entire report of your full credit history. This is what they use when they give you a car loan or they give you a mortgage, or even when you go and apply for a credit card. And when you get a hard pull, that will negatively affect your credit score. So if you go out and you get quotes for 5 different cars and every dealership pulls your credit, that it will negatively affect your credit score. However, if you go on once a month and you pull your credit score from Borrowwell and from Credit Karma, it will have absolutely zero impact on your credit score, even over the long term. So you need to be very careful what type of pull you are doing. If it is a hard pull or a soft pull, anytime somebody's actually going to give you money, it's more than likely a hard pull. If it's a soft pull, it's usually just a quick little credit check. That's usually also what happens when you go to rent a property, is it's usually just a soft pull. So definitely those two different types of pull that you need to be aware of. The hard pull will negatively affect your credit. The soft pull will have zero impact on your credit. Now, what are the best ways to improve your credit score? Well, I figured let's relate this back to the 5 factors that actually make up your credit score. So the number 1 factor is payment history. The best way to handle this is to quite literally, really simply, make your payments on time. Pay every debt on time and just make the payments. If it's a credit card, a student loan, a cell phone, it doesn't matter what it is. If you miss that payment by 1 cent, it is going to show up as a missed payment on your credit report and it is going to negatively affect your credit score. Secondly is utilization. This is the second largest factor when it comes to determining your credit score, and the easiest way here is to stay under 30% of your limit on everything. So if you have a line of credit that's 10 grand, you only put up to $3,000 on it. If you have a credit card that's $20,000, you only put up to $6,000 on it. That is the blanket rule for any type of debt that you have where you can actually control the balance on it. It needs to stay under 30%, and that will over time boost your credit score. Thirdly, the age of your credit. Now, I mentioned this before, but do not get rid of that credit card that your mom signed you up for when you were 16. Keep that balance at 0, keep paying it off, because what happens is over time, it shows a longer and longer payment history, and it shows that you are better and better off at paying off your debts, and it will improve your credit score. So do not get rid of your old loans, do not get rid of your old debt or your line of credit. Keep them there for as long as you can and pay them off, or at least try and get the fees on them as low as possible so it costs you as little as possible, and it will continue to boost your credit score. Fourth is diversity of your credit, and the way to do this is your credit card, your line of credit, and a loan. If you already have a credit card and you're looking to build your credit, go out and get a line of credit for $5,000 and don't put much on it. Go out and get a loan for $5,000 and invest it in some super safe investments, or just leave it in cash, pay off the interest, and boost your credit over time before you get a mortgage. You don't need to do that one over the long term, but it can definitely help you raise your credit score over a year or two. And lastly is the number of inquiries. The best way here is to just limit the number of hard pulls that actually hit your credit score. So when you go out and get a car, only let one guy do a hard pull on you. When you go out and get a mortgage, try and find a broker that's only going to do one hard pull on you. Things like that are going to significantly reduce the number of inquiries that go into your credit and will boost your credit over time. Okay guys, I just want to cover a couple of quick points here in the summary. So good credit scores make life easier. They make life easier by saving you money on your mortgage and your interest rate. You have more money left over for you and your family. Secondly is pay everything on time. If you have a line of credit, a credit card, whatever it is, do as much as you possibly can to pay that on time because it will boost your credit over time. And whenever possible, you need to stay under 30% utilization because it shows the bank that you are not relying on that credit to live your life. And lastly, you need to go out now and you need to check your score. The reason I say that because I brought this up with one of my friends a couple of weeks ago, hadn't checked his score in a little while and realized that he actually had a lien against him for one of his employers from a couple years ago. And so you need to do that because it will tell you if you have any liens against you, what's going on with your credit. If you have any weird loans that are a little fancy that you've never actually heard of, well, you can call up Visa, you can call up TransUnion and say, hey, this isn't me. You need to look into this because this isn't me. Somebody's stolen my identity. All of these things can come from checking your score, and all it takes is 5 minutes. So you really need to get out there and do it. And also, you need to hit that like button and hit that subscribe button because my goal here is to provide you with value to save you money and build your wealth over time. And if that's what you're into, that's what I'm putting out here. So hit that subscribe button and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much. Peace.